Hello, my name's Ken Howarth, and this is my story of visiting an underground chamber in the heart of Manchester way back in 1973, just before the development of the Arndale Centre over the site. Manchester then still had many of its old 19th century buildings left, and at the junction of New Brown Street and Cannon Street was the Wishing Well restaurant. In one corner of the dining area of the restaurant was an attractive feature in the form of the top of a wishing well. What diners didn't know was there was actually a shaft beneath the decorative well top. Alex Britton and brothers Dick and Harry Smith knew all about the shaft, and as the premises were due for demolition anyway to make way for the new Arndale Centre, they decided to investigate, and I was invited along to have a look. We really didn't know what to expect. There were rumours of tunnels starting near the cathedral and running along under the streets of Manchester. This tunnel, if it ever existed, was supposed to have been built centuries earlier, with many shafts sunk along its line giving access during its construction. I remember it being an exciting time. Just what would we discover? After many hours of back-breaking work and the removal of tons of fill, mud, bricks, debris that had been dumped into the old shaft over many years, they eventually reached a large chamber cut out of the soft red sandstone, some 40 to 50 feet down. Going down the shaft wasn't easy. "They'll be all right," they said as I clung on for dear life straddling the builder's bucket. I remember my instant risk assessment of the situation left something to be desired as I wrapped myself around the bucket. The descent was painfully slow, and the bucket revolved as it made its way to the bottom. Despite my complete and total fear and sense of imminent doom, the slowly revolving bucket gave me time to look at the side of the shaft just below the floor of the restaurant. It soon became apparent the whitewashed sides of the shaft were in fact made of local stone blocks which predated the 19th century building above it. But what was really interesting was a series of holes set at opposite sides of the shaft in the stonework. These were features I'd seen many times before in medieval and later lead and coal mining shafts. Originally there would have been balks of timber across the shaft forming a kind of crude ladder so that men could climb up and down the shaft without fear of falling out of a builder's bucket. It's best explained by looking at a sketch. Looked at from above, it's evident how the timbers were placed. The stonework was built directly onto the soft red sandstone, and so no further walling was necessary below that level. Down and down I went, hanging on for dear life to that bucket. I well remember the two-stroke engine above that operated the winch, and it gradually became quieter, and suddenly my feet touched the bottom. Our hopes of links to secret passages under Manchester were dashed. The men had uncovered a chamber hewn out of the sandstone. There was even a little ledge at one end where doubtless candles or lamps had once been. It was, straightforwardly, a well. Not a wishing well, but a well probably supplying water to local people long before the Industrial Revolution. Water soon began to come in, and it was clear the chamber was considerably deeper than it was possible to excavate. It wasn't just the water, though. The demolition people were keen to move in, and soon the shaft was filled with concrete, and it now forms part of the foundations for the Arndale Centre. Surprisingly few artefacts came out of the well. There were a few pieces of 19th century pottery, and some clay tobacco pipe stems, and little else, with one exception. A large wrought iron billet, which was shaped like a bullet, with a hollow at one end. What was the wrought iron object used for? Even now, 35 years later, the mystery has not been solved. If you know the answer, we'd love to hear from you. Please post a comment on the YouTube comment box relating to this video. We look forward to hearing from you.